Welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop Culture. Peace, much love, and know this. What you're about to experience is not designed for the average rap fan. We know that you have real decisions that you must make in your life immediately. We know that you desire more for yourself. It is not unlikely that you are beginning to feel that the people around you are holding you back. The mere fact that you have this indicates that you are seeking, exploring, searching. You are not looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. You are seeking to establish victory over the streets. Relax now. Be at peace and allow your heart to understand the inner meaning of this instruction. Lesson 1 begins with our teacher KRS ONE speaking on the fundamentals of hip-hop.
Many people admire hip-hop, but not everyone can interpret hip-hop. This takes a certain sight, and many people are simply too afraid to go where hip-hop originates from. In both a physical as well as a mental sense, they admire and enjoy rap music, but are afraid to live and seek out hip-hop's true lifestyle. Know this: in our early days, during the Age of Light, there was no term hip-hop, yet we existed. We could not say, yo, I'm representing true hip-hop, because there was no true hip-hop. There was only us. This concept may be difficult for some to grasp, but try to imagine or remember the 1970s, a time when there was no hip-hop culture. There was the mainstream American pop culture, and that was it. If you were not accepted by the mainstream, you did not exist. Blacks, Latinos, and whites that were rejected by the American mainstream of the 70s were left for dead. No jobs, poor housing, poor health care, police brutality, and poor education led many to their deaths. In the Platinum Age, we saw our parents somewhat successful, engaging and further developing the world. But in the 70s, we watched as our parents were assassinated, experimented on, incarcerated, and rejected. As a result of the 70s experience, we, the youth of this age, developed inner city survival strategies that were to enhance the quality of inner city life. Survival strategies such as street language, street fashion, street knowledge, street entrepreneurships, breaking, MCing, graffiti art, DJing, and beatboxing saved many. Still, many of us suffered the same fate as our parents. Our whole generation was labeled X because we were doomed for failure and had already been written off by the mainstream of the 70s. This was a time when corruption and lawlessness and hate existed openly and freely in society. The rule of law was ignored and God was declared dead. Attuned hip-hoppers knew they were hip-hop because it was who we were that was called hip-hop. It was our character, our way of viewing the world, our sight that became hip-hop culture. It was our spirit, our inner being, our God within that manifested the 9 elements. While others indulged in money, sex, and over-intoxication, attuned hip-hoppers developed strategies that freed them from the oppressive and unjust systems of inner city life. Others achieved a limited and short-lived success through rap music, while attuned hip-hoppers enjoyed long success and peace of mind through the correct application of the principles found in this recording. During the Golden Age, we naively presented our elements freely for the benefit of all true hip-hoppers. Unfortunately, others began imitating our elements without proper knowledge of purpose. Know this: just because you witness hip-hop's elements does not mean that you can accurately interpret and present the element you have witnessed. The assumption was that hip-hop's elements required no training, practice, or apprenticeship. Many people, hip-hoppers included, felt that anything young and black was acceptable as hip-hop. In addition, because the attuned hip-hoppers had mastered hip-hop's elements, they equally made it look easy when presenting it to the public. When young hip-hoppers began to abandon hip-hop's system of apprenticeship, To simply imitate the attuned hip-hoppers of the golden age, hip-hop's sight was lost from public access. As a result, the hip-hop community lost its continuity and sense of meaning and purpose. Fat shoelaces, name buckles, nylon dress socks over athletic tube socks, graffiti art on jean jackets and pants, slap boxing, terms like fresh, fly, duck, Vic, chill out, and word all reflected a unique inner city mentality that is no longer publicly available. The hip-hoppers of the 70s that first expressed the sight were either killed, incarcerated, or joined the workforce. There was not many of us to begin with, and the mainstream of the 70s made sure only a few of us would survive in the future. Over time, only a limited collection of our elements remained. Everything else, like Skelly, puffed up sneakers, boom boxes, and the sight, slowly faded away. The 9 elements we experience today are but shadows of a great inner city collective consciousness that no one really cared enough about to preserve.
Hip-hop is not rap music. Rap is something you do. Hip-hop is something you live. Hip-hop is an awareness, a revelation, a way to be, a style of life, a blessing, a voice that originates in the realm of the spirit. Hip-hop is not a material thing. It is invisible, free, and divine. As an alternative behavior, hip-hop enables us to transform subjects and objects in an attempt to describe and/or change the character and desires of our inner being.
The true hip-hopper understands that hip-hop is not over there somewhere, external of self. It is our collective creativity emanating from God within self. To say, I am hip-hop, morally means we are aware that what we think and do is also who we are. We are the voice of our God. Saying I am hip-hop intellectually means I am my own strategy for self-improvement. I am the blessing. Likewise, hip-hop culture must view itself as its own strategy towards survival, stability, and continued growth. We believe hip-hop to be a strategy that frees you from the traps of the inner city. We don't just look at hip-hop as rap music, a way to get money, or a way to be famous, although that's included. We don't negate it, but we don't define hip-hop by that. Hip-hop here is defined by your health, your ability to give and receive love, your awareness, and your wealth. We call that the H law. It's an acronym, HLAW, H law. Health, love, awareness, and wealth. These are the things that we should be trying to aspire to achieve when you say, I live a hip hop lifestyle, I am hip hop. Then every act in your life should be determined by your status of health, love, awareness, and wealth. Why is it important to know hip hop? Why? You know, most people look at it as music or some guy rhyming on a stage or something. Why is it important to know hip hop? Why is it important to even be associated with hip hop? You'll notice that most knowledge in the world, just the idea of knowledge, what you know, some of what's known, the idea of knowledge tries to either relieve human suffering in a philosophical sense, or it predicts what's going on. Hip-hop is at the heights of that. Not only does knowing hip-hop relieve human suffering, which we'll get into later, But knowing it also, or should I say, having the sight that hip hop has, having the awareness, gives you the ability to predict what's gonna happen in the inner cities before it happens. For many years, various magazine publications have attempted to document and interpret the forward movement of hip hop from a traditionally objective perspective. This objectivity, although useful in the field of journalism, proves poor as a general method in interpreting the consciousness of hip hop for hip hoppers. Between the years of 1988 to 1998, rap publications of all styles relied on being objective journalists when documenting hip hop as opposed to being hip hop. Such was their academic training. However, hip hop, as with many popular cultures, is unique in the sense that accurately documenting its culture requires its interpreters to participate in its expressions. This is very important. If you can't do it, you can't interpret it. What hip hop is going through is that people who have no idea what it is, how to do it, nothing, are interpreting for the rest of the world what's going on, who we are. Hip hop has yet to speak for itself. The journalistic census toward hip hop mirrored the mainstream census of Black and Latino youth. Violent criminals, helpless, hopeless, untrustworthy, dangerous to be around, but nonetheless great entertainment. What they interpreted as hip hop was really MCing, which they later labeled rap. Breaking was labeled break dancing. Piecing, burning, bombing, and tagging were all lumped together as graffiti art. Early hip hop owned no monthly publication, video countdown, or Saturday night master mix. In its early days, it could not interpret itself for itself, and those with the resources to interpret it did so with no interest in hip hop's creative intelligence. In other words, no one asked, how do you develop the language you're speaking? How? Most journalists wanted to know, or most people in general wanted to know was, yo man, how you getting so much money doing that? Keep in mind, in the early days, hip hop was illegal. When I started as a graffiti artist, and it was illegal. I mean, graffiti art is always illegal, but rap music was illegal. They started off as block parties, but then they got more sophisticated as the years went on, mainly because of the aggression that hip hop was facing early on. These parties were done out in places in the Bronx called 123 Park, Cedar Park. And these were the early areas where when an MC and DJ duo would come out, they'd plug into the light. That instantly made us illegal. But more so than that, when we started rhyming and the DJ started cutting, this weird and unusual noise out in the parks began to aggravate people. And shockingly enough, it didn't aggravate the police. It aggravated our parents. Now most people got away with it. Most people did their jam and the cops said, oh, break it up. And they broke it up. Other people, cops just came in, click, 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 everybody's gone. No questions, no answers, no nothing. Early hip hop starts like that. It starts in a small Black and Latino community. And the older Black and Latino generation says, no, that's not the representation of Black people or of Latino people. It's something else. It's something you kids ain't supposed to be doing. And on top of that, you can't make a living with that. You can't make a living doing that. Go to school, go to the army, go to college. But a few hip hoppers said, nah, we believe in this. This is why we pay respect to the past. Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, Grandmaster Flash. These are the seminal figures in hip hop culture, not just rap music. In the whole culture of hip hop, the thinking, the dress, the language, the whole thing. This is why we pay them respect. Because when they were doing it, it was illegal. And they could have said, yo, man, I ain't going to jail for this. I'm not, every week I gotta go through. No, they said, we believe in this. And we believe in ourselves so much that we're gonna keep doing it. We first was just up in the Bronx. From 1970 to 1978, hip hop was in the Bronx. It was only practiced in the Bronx, and the only way you can get to hear it is if you got a tape from one of the parties in the Bronx. Somewhere around 78, 79, hip hop left the Bronx and actually exploded all over New York. And from there you get a guy named Grandmaster Caz, who's from the Bronx, who wrote a song which turned out to be Rapper's Delight. But he gave it to his man because back then, everybody said everybody's rhymes. It wasn't like today you think, like, you know, you turn on the radio, everybody's rapping, you have rhymes, rhymes. Back then, only a few people were able to do that. And the ones that did it, everybody else mimicked them so that they can do it. So everybody was running around saying Cold Crush 4 rhymes, which the lead guy in Cold Crush 4 was Grandmaster Caz. When Sugar Hill Records put out Rapper's Delight, hip hop wasn't illegal anymore. That's the significance of Rapper's Delight. In 1979, when Rapper's Delight sold 2 million records, all of a sudden, hip hop wasn't illegal anymore. Chill out was the first word given from hip hop to the American pop culture, or first phrase. Chill as a word, chill out as a phrase. Americans took that and they go, chill, man, chill out. Take a chill pill. Yeah. We went from chill to fresh. People don't know what that meant. What do you mean fresh? Then we went from fresh to dope. Dope? What is, are you stupid? Are you on drugs? I mean, what is dope? What does that mean? Then we had words like stupid, fresh, and I mean, just whole other languages that turned on the rest of America. Language is the expression of creative intelligence. Our language wasn't just chill, dope, nah. We looked at the English language and what's on our minds, what's on our heads. Our minds are so vast in our thinking that the English language does not have enough words to describe what we're thinking. So what we have to do is take words, the existing words, and transform them to fit our consciousness, to fit how we come in at the world. This is what hip hop is. It is the transformation of subjects and objects in an attempt to describe your consciousness. Hip hop is made up of 9 expressions: DJing, breaking, graffiti art, MCing, beatboxing, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and street entrepreneurialism. Many people don't realize what street entrepreneurialism is. And it's not about selling crack on a corner either. I know that's the first thing we think of. But it might include it. So don't get it twisted. The point to street entrepreneurialism is when you take something in its raw state, raw, There's no loan from the bank. There's no help from your parents. It's you and the world. And you're trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. A lot of people, black scholars especially, black nationalist scholars especially, will say, we lost all of this. But they won't admit that hip hop may be the refinding of what we lost. We don't know what we lost, because we lost it. But whatever we lost, if it was truly ours, then it is still with us. If it's truly whatever was going on in ancient Africa, Asia, even Europe, with us, is still happening today. It may have been sidetracked. It may have been stopped or altered to a degree. But when the political climate became right enough for hip hop to re-emerge in the early 70s, this could be what we lost. Here at the Temple of Hip Hop, we talk about hip hop as a strategy toward health, love, awareness, and wealth. And again, whatever God has given us, we haven't really lost it. You can only forget it. You can't lose it. You only forget it. So in the scheme of following a spiritual thought in hip hop, it's not about gaining knowledge of something that you didn't know before. The practice has to do more with remembering what you forgot. When you try to remember what was forgotten, not only did you not really lose what you had, because you're remembering it is still with you, but most spiritual thought as well in the world has to do with what is called enlightenment and awakening. And that enlightenment and that awakening is a remembrance, not a new you. It's not all of a sudden I'm a new person, or I've took something on to make me somebody new. You simply remember who you were. You are reminded. Be the things you are thinking. And if you don't want to be what you are thinking, stop thinking it. I used to get into a lot of MC battles. And the MC used to always say, when he come up, say, yeah, we doing this for hip hop. We doing this for the real hip hop. And that's when they lose the battle. Because I am real hip hop. Right away, the psychology's different. He's coming at me representing something that I'm saying I am. So there's no way you're gonna win. There's no way, because the only way you have a chance is if you say, no, I am hip hop. And then you're equaled off and you go after it. But it takes practice, and it's a change in your thought. Instead of reading the word of Christ, be the word of Christ. Instead of following God's word, be God's word. That's the consciousness of hip hop. You are not just doing hip hop, you are hip hop. You are not just reading the word of God, you are the word of God. The only way you can really walk in this earth, really following the laws of Jesus Christ, is when you yourself think you are Jesus Christ. And then you can walk just like Jesus Christ. Easy. Easy. Be the things you are thinking. And if you cannot be what you are thinking, stop thinking it. But if you can be what you're thinking, you'll be the best at it. Whatever you do, whatever you're studying right now, be it now. Open your business today. Act like you are the CEO of your own corporation, and you will be. If you are sitting there going, one day I'll be the CEO, one day never comes. One day I'll finish this schooling, I'll be an attorney. One day never comes. The only thing that exists is today. And whatever you're doing today, the cause is going to affect your life in the future, the effect. So this is how you use hip hop in everyday society, in everyday life, on a spiritual level, a political level, and on a life level. Malcolm X in 1965, I'm reading, by the way, from a book called Malcolm X Speaks. It's a collection of his speeches published by Pathfinder. Malcolm X Speaks, Selected Speeches and Statements. This is what Malcolm X said in 1965. Now, the reason 1965 is an important year is because 1965 is when the first hip hoppers, the first group of hip hoppers that would become the golden age were born. The first hip hoppers were really born between 1950 and 1970, this 20-year period. But in 1965, there was massive turmoil going on in the country. I was born in 1965. So I find this year very interesting, and I find what Malcolm X also was assassinated in 1965. But one of his last statements here in 1965 was to a group of young students, young people. This is what he said. In America, students have been noted for involving themselves in panty raids, goldfish swallowing, seeing how many can get into a phone booth, not for their revolutionary political ideas or their desire to change unjust conditions. But some students are becoming more like their brothers around the world. Speaking of the revolutionary young people that were fighting all over the world. However, the students have been deceived somewhat in what's known as the civil rights struggle, which was never designed to solve the problem. The problem is racism, is what he's dealing with. Civil rights, he says, never was designed to solve the problem. It was pretty much designed to deal with the problem, to live in the problem, to find better ways to accept the problem. But civil rights, according to Malcolm X, never dealt with the problem. The students were maneuvered in the direction of thinking the problem was already analyzed. So they didn't try to analyze it for themselves. Malcolm X is saying that the students were maneuvered in the direction of thinking that the problem was already analyzed. Racism had already done, we already got this, don't worry, we already got it. So they didn't try to analyze it for themselves. In my thinking, Malcolm X says, if the students in this country forgot the analysis that has been presented to them, underline the word forgot. In my thinking, if the students in this country forgot the analysis that has been presented to them and they went into a huddle and began to research this problem of racism for themselves, independent of politicians and independent of all foundations which are part of the power structure, and did it themselves, then some of their findings would be shocking. But they would see that they would never be able to bring about a solution to racism in this country as long as they're relying on the government to do it. This is very interesting what Malcolm is saying, because this statement is what is the fundamental of hip hop. The fundamental of hip hop is rethinking the entire society that you're in. This is what created hip hop. Hip hop was not created because MTV appreciated its existence and decided to bring it up and broadcast it to the people. Hip hop was created by sidestepping the norm. Many of us in this room today, man, maybe all of us, have situations that we are in that appear to be normal. And people are telling you, don't go against the norm. Stay in your place. Just chill. What you angry about? What you so... You got this, you got that. You're living here, you're driving that. But hip hop impresses upon your soul to always rethink the norm. Malcolm X tells us here that by rethinking what you think is normal, by rethinking the society, by rethinking the foundations of society, this is how you deal with the problem of racism. You don't ask the government to do it for you. You rethink the situation, the whole society, yourself. I'm here to tell you today that a lot of you are going through situations that you're like in a crossroads because hip hop puts you in that mode. Hip hop has one thought, but the society is thinking something else. And as a hip hopper, you're constantly in flux in between my job, my school, my this, my that, my the other, versus my soul. My soul, who I am, who am I? Most of us live these double lives. We know who we are, but then when we step out in the street, we have to suppress that because who we are is illegal. When you come into the school system, you're given the answer to all your questions, meaning that the teacher teaches you question and answer at the same time. What we do is the teacher says, class, Christopher Columbus discovered America. We write it down. 1492, Nina Pinta Santa Rita Mayflower. We write it down. Never once do we question the teacher. Never once do we say, well, I think Christopher Columbus was drunk and lost and the Indians discovered him. The reason we don't ask these questions is because from the time we are very, very young, the point of our education is for you to become well educated so you can get a job, or so that you can hold a job, or so that you can be successful. Learn math, not to learn astronomy, but learn math so that you can count money. Learn how to read, not so that you could read the seasons, read nature, but read so that you can write a resume, so that you can take orders. Your first education is in socialization. Now follow me here. The first thing you learn is how to sit in class. Don't talk out of turn. Raise your hand when you want to speak. Shortest in the front, tallest in the back. This is order. and this creates an ordered society. The teacher now says, now, Christopher Columbus discovered America. Your socialization tells you don't question the authority. You say, okay, let me write it down, because really the point to my education is for me to get a job. So if I'm going to write this down, really what I want is a good grade. I'm not worried about whether this is true knowledge or not. I'm not worried about, did Christopher Columbus discover America? Did he not discover? All of that is irrelevant. What the purpose of our education becomes is I am memorizing what the teacher tells me, so that when the teacher asks me 2 or 3 weeks later, I could tell the teacher exactly what the teacher told me 2 weeks before. And then those who have said exactly or close to exactly what the teacher has told them 2 weeks ago get the highest grade. The educational process is for you to memorize what you know. Then when someone asks you, now what do you know? You speak from memory. Many of us come to school and we don't seek knowledge. We want an A, a B, or a C grade. Now the trick here becomes this. When you begin to get a little more mature in your education and in your life, you begin to ask questions like, well, who am I? And where am I? Now when you ask questions like, well, who am I? What happens is intelligence does not answer the question. Memory answers the question. What we have is called training. And then you have to ask yourself, now what are we being trained for? And what we're being trained for is, again, the job market. We're being trained to work better. This is a more advanced version of slavery. We're being taught how to be a good business manager, a good computer analyst, a good recording artist, a good doctor, lawyer. But all of these titles are false when asking about self and who you are. So through your education, yes, you must memorize things, and that makes you knowledgeable. But once you gain knowledge, now you have to begin to question the knowledge that you have. Most people, when they say we need a knowledge of self, what they do is they go on a journey for it. And they start looking or searching for knowledge of themselves, or searching for themselves. Self has gone nowhere. What has happened is self is standing here as a child, and through your education, you put knowledge on yourself. Knowledge is like a coat when you don't control it with intelligence. It's a coat. The first coat, my name. Second coat, oh, I'm my mother's son, coat. Or I'm a brother to my sister or brother, next coat. I am in school, I am a student, next coat. You grow up, you get a wife or a husband, I am a wife or a husband, coat. You go further in your career, now I am an MC, coat. I am a doctor, coat. Policeman, coat. All of these coats on top of self help you to forget self. And what we do is we begin to move by way of the coats, not by way of the self. Because we forgot the self. The coats begin to rule us. When you go into your job, you go to work, you put on the coat of whatever job you're doing, and it works for while you're working. But then when you leave the job and go home, you're supposed to take the coat off, hang it up, and be yourself. But if we don't have practice with self, and if we are trained to memorize, we forget, which is our strength here, memory, we forget what self is. If you take off all the coats, you'll be left with nothing but self. Self is not something to gain. It's always with you. Self is not some place you got to go and attain a new knowledge. The more knowledge you get is the more coats you're putting on. Believe these are the sciences that will walk us into the 21st century, healthy, wealthy, and wise. Wealth. What is wealth? Wealth and health are really the same thing. But let's concentrate on wealth as it pertains to money. There are two concepts to look at. One is everyone says, I want money. I want money. Give me money. I need money. But no one has anything to sell. If you ask yourself, I want money, how can I get money? The next question should be, well, what is my skill? Many people cry out, I want money, but have no skills. If you are an MC and you say, I want money, have skills. The one who has skills does not even need to ask for money. He's running from the money. She's chased by money. Because skill is what makes you wealthy. Skills. Having a trade, having something to sell. If you have nothing to sell, you don't get paid for anything. The beginning of wealth is to have a skill. And this goes for any profession you decide to get involved in. Any. If you are a doctor, or if you are studying to be a doctor, make sure you have skills in medicine, and you'll be the wealthiest doctor in your field. If you are an attorney or studying to be an attorney, if you are whatever, a chef, culinary arts, so on. A mother. Make sure you have skills. Point number 2 in wealth. We have to begin to understand that what we call the mind is different from what we call the brain. The brain exists right here in what is called your cranium, your head. That's the brain. The brain is the central nervous system, the brain. It's also believed that the heart is as well. But for the sake of this conversation, the brain is the center of your nervous system. Helps your heart to pump, lungs to go, keep the body in order. But that's not the mind. Neurologists don't know where the mind is. The mind is not in your head. The mind is not only all over your body, but it is all over your environment as well. When we come to understand that your mind, what is called the mind, is all over the place. When you seek to gain wealth, the first thing that must be achieved is something called creative visualization. Every night before you go to sleep, see yourself doing what it is you want to do. See it. Feel it. If you are good, like back in the days when I was sleeping on the streets, and I don't know how many of you have been to New York, but we have a subway system. And that was like my living room, literally. we used to sleep, or I used to sleep on the subway. But as I was sleeping on the subway, I would visualize this event right here. I would see myself rocking crowd. Yo, Nato, yeah. I would see it. And I used to get so worked up in it that sometimes I used to break out into a sweat without even moving. Anyone who goes to sleep at night and visualizes in their mind what it is they are or what it is they want to be, they will sustain it or then become it. As a man thinketh, so he is. When you think, your thoughts are real. Ideas are only the first stage in material existence. Everything that is matter, everything you see was first an idea. When you come to understand that everything from the chair you're sitting in to the clothes that you're wearing to the food that you've eaten was first somebody's idea, then you begin to know that when you sleep at night, don't just waste your mind on idle thinking and fall off to sleep. Practice your art. Go to sleep. Demand that you get 5 minutes to yourself. Don't go to sleep angry. Don't go to sleep sad. Because these things become manifested in your life when you wake up the next day. No matter what the situation is, try to release that. Go to sleep and concentrate on the future you. When you wake up in the morning, confirm that again in your mind. It takes 2 to 3 minutes. It's just 2 or 3 minutes of creative visualization. Feel it. Don't wait for someone to tell you, oh, here's your degree, or rather, here's your receipt. Don't wait for someone to hand you your degree for you to now say, oh, now I'm a doctor. Oh, now I'm a business major. Nah. The minute you decree the word, whatever career you are studying, be it now. I am it. Be it now. The question is the study, or should I say this? The study, you studying it in college or in experience only makes you the best at it. But it doesn't make you it. It doesn't make you that thing. What makes you that thing or that career is your awareness of yourself as the career. Anyone who gives medical advice is a doctor. Don't wait for the degree. And medical advice could just simply mean, yo, here's an aspirin. We put all this other stuff, again, those coats. When you have a headache, or if you catch the flu or whatever, you don't see yourself as a doctor. Many of us start off to go to a doctor. You have to first be a doctor, all of us. You first give yourself medical advice, and the medical advice you give yourself is to go to the doctor. Once you realize the doctor in you that is paying for or empowering these other doctors, then you begin to understand the true concepts of health. Let us discuss health. The object to really good health is prevention. Don't wait till you're sick to try to be well. When you are well, try to be well. If you are well and you feel good about yourself, then try to move on and on. In other words, if you feel good right now, cut down on the sausage, the bacon, the red meat. Even though your body can handle these things, it's not good to just keep giving it, and then it breaks down. Now you're wondering what happened. But here now, the second point to health. Health has a lot to do with controlling the five senses. If you do not have control of your senses, it's almost impossible to stay healthy. And I'll say it again. If you do not control your five senses, it's almost impossible to stay healthy. Many of us don't take some of the best things for the body simply because they don't taste good. Many of us eat right here. This is where we determine everything that's going in the body, right here in the mouth, with the taste. The stomach does not know taste. The stomach, the digestive system, small intestines, large intestines, colon, liver, kidneys, they don't have no taste. They don't know whether the food you eat is hot or cold. Matter of fact, these organs don't even care. The way the body looks at everything you put in your mouth is as a drug. This is why food and drugs are always on the same level in medicine. All foods are drugs. Food is a false title. If you could look at every food as a drug, you will eat differently. Look at each food as a chemical compound. Don't look at beef as beef with little, for the eye. It looks so bright and they put a little green and that's messing with your senses. Look at it from a chemical perspective. Now, what's in that? What's in it? What is this really made of? When my body eats it, how does the body look at it? The body looks at it as chemicals, and the body deals with it as chemicals. That's the way the body reads food. It's the senses that lead us to disease and sickness. It is our lack of discipline of the senses that has us eating anything. Why is it that when you feel sexually aroused in your mind, your body starts bugging? Because your body is listening to every thought that is coming out of your mind. So every once in a while, sit the body down, maybe in a tub of water or whatever, and say, today is your day, body. Today is your day. I'm going to fast today. You ain't going to do no work today. Today I'm going to abstain from food. I'm just going to drink water and juice. And you can get rid of them things easily. You're not going to work today, body. Here, rest yourself. Thank you for having me today.
Peace and much love. Know this. The Refinitions are a collection of hip-hop cultural terms and codes designed to protect, preserve, and establish hip-hop's common spirit. Those that study and comply with the Refinitions are called true hip-hoppers, because it is the Refinitions that establish hip-hop's cultural unity and longevity. The true hip-hop lifestyle offers freedom from the systems of the world that traps and limits the hip-hopper's potential. The true hip-hop lifestyle declares victory over the streets.
The Refinitions. Graffiti art.
Commonly called aerosol art, life art, pieces, burners, and urban murals. Other forms of this art include bombing and tagging. Its practitioners are known as writers. Graffiti, writing or drawing that is scribbled, scratched, or sprayed on a surface.
DJing
commonly refers to the actions of a disc jockey. Hip-hop's disc jockey doesn't play vinyl records, tapes, and compact discs. He or she artistically interacts with the performance of the recorded song by cutting, mixing, and scratching the song in all of its recorded formats. Its practitioners are known as DJs, grandmasters, mixologists, mixmasters, jam masters, and funk masters. Disc jockey, presenter of recorded pop music.
breaking,
commonly called break dancing. It includes uprocking, electric boogie, and capoeira martial arts. Its practitioners are called b-boys, b-girls, and breakers. It is also commonly referred to as freestyle street dancing, break dancing, acrobatic style of street dancing.
MCing,
Commonly referred to as rapping or rap. The MC is a mass controller who directs and moves the crowd by rhythmically rhyming in spoken word. The word MC comes from the abbreviated form of Masters of Ceremonies, MC. In its traditional sense, the verb MC meant to host an event. Early hip-hop transformed the traditional character of the MC to include crowd participation routines. Its practitioners are known as MCs or rappers.
beatboxing,
Commonly refers to the act of creating rhythmic sounds with various parts of the body, particularly the throat, mouth, and hands. Earlier versions of this expression included hand bone or ham bone. Today, it is the act of imitating early electronic drum. These drum machines were some of the original beatboxers, and imitating them was called beatboxing. Its practitioners are known as human beatboxers or human orchestras.
street fashion,
Commonly refers to the clothing trends of the inner city. Street fashion deals with all trends and styles of hip-hop culture, what's in and what's out, regardless of expression. Its practitioners are known as hip-hoppers.
street language,
Commonly referred to as Black English, urban slang, and ebonics. It is hip-hop's linguistic codes, the verbal communication of the streets. Its practitioners are known as hip-hoppers.
street knowledge,
Commonly refers to the basic common sense and accumulated wisdom of inner city families. It consists of techniques used to survive and the ability to reason soundly when all mainstream ideas have failed. Its practitioners are known as brother, sister, God, goddess, mother, father, teacher, queen, princess, lord, prince, and divine. Streetwise, knowing how to survive modern urban life.
street entrepreneurialism,
Commonly referred to as having game, the natural salesman, the smooth diplomat who creates business opportunity. It is the readiness to engage in the creation of business ventures that bring about grassroots business practices. Its practitioners are known as hustlers, entrepreneur, person who undertakes a commercial venture. These are the standard guidelines, the foundation of hip-hop's definitions. But it must be underscored that hip-hop is a continually growing entity, so this list is bound to grow with it. Still, for now, these represent the standards. Saying, I am hip-hop literally means I am my own strategy for self-improvement. Likewise, hip-hop must view itself as its own strategy towards survival, stability, and continued growth. This objective is achieved when we pledge allegiance to hip-hop culture and take responsibility for how hip-hop looks and acts in society. As we think, so hip-hop is.
the temple of hip hop culture.